The knock came without warning. Not loud. Not rushed. Just firm enough to change the whole evening. Lena was folding laundry on the couch when she heard it. She paused, one sock in her hand, heart doing that quiet skip she couldn't explain. No one ever came by unannounced anymore. Outside, the sky was turning that soft blue that always made her nostalgic. Inside, the house smelled like clean cotton and dinner cooling on the stove. Everything felt calm. Too calm. Her husband, Mark, was in the kitchen rinsing dishes. They had just finished eating, talking about nothing important. The kind of talk couples fall into when life feels steady. Then came the knock again. Same rhythm. Same weight. Mark dried his hands slowly. Lena watched his shoulders tense, just a little. He felt it too. "I'll get it," he said, though his voice sounded unsure. Lena stood anyway, drawn forward by instinct. When Mark opened the door, the air shifted. A tall man stood on the porch, coat still on, eyes tired but sharp. His hair was grayer than Mark remembered. "Uncle Robert," Mark said quietly. Lena had only heard stories. The uncle who lived states away. The uncle who never visited. The uncle whose name was usually followed by silence. Robert gave a small smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I hope I'm not interrupting," he said. His voice carried something heavy. Lena stepped closer. "Please," she said. "Come in." As soon as he crossed the threshold, it felt like the house exhaled. Or maybe it held its breath. Lena couldn't tell which. Robert looked around slowly. At the photos on the wall. At the worn armchair Mark loved. "You've made a good life here," he said. There was warmth in his tone. "And regret." Mark nodded, but didn't sit. Neither did Robert. The space between them felt charged. Lena offered coffee. Tea. Anything. Robert declined with a gentle shake of his head. "I won't stay long," he said. Those words landed heavier than expected. Lena sat on the edge of the couch, hands folded tightly. She noticed how Mark kept glancing at the door, then back at his uncle. Like he was bracing for something. Robert finally looked at her. "You must be Lena," he said kindly. "I've heard a lot about you." She smiled, though her chest felt tight. "Only good things, I hope." "All of them," Robert said. Then his smile faded. The silence stretched. It wasn't awkward. It was careful. Mark broke it. "What's going on?" he asked. Robert sighed, the sound deep and worn. "I didn't want to do this over the phone," he said. "And I didn't know how to begin." Lena felt a chill crawl up her arms. This wasn't a casual visit. This was something planned, even if it came unannounced. Robert reached into his coat pocket. Not hurried. Not dramatic. Just deliberate. Mark stiffened. Lena leaned forward without realizing it. But Robert didn't pull anything out yet. Instead, he looked at Mark with a mix of pride and sadness. "You remind me so much of your father," he said softly. The room seemed to dim. Mark swallowed. "You never talk about him," he replied. "I know," Robert said. "And that's part of why I'm here." Lena's heart pounded. She felt like she was standing at the edge of a story she wasn't sure she wanted to hear. But she knew she needed to. Robert finally took out a folded envelope. Old. Yellowed. Handled many times. "This belonged to him," Robert said. "He asked me to keep it safe." Mark stared at it like it might disappear. "Why now?" he asked. Robert hesitated. "Because time runs out," he said quietly. "And some truths don't wait forever." The words hung in the air. Lena felt them settle deep, like a warning and a promise all at once. She glanced at Mark. His face was pale, eyes fixed on the envelope. This was bigger than she imagined. Bigger than a visit. Bigger than a family reunion. Bigger than the quiet life they had built. Something major was coming. And it had just stepped through their front door. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like the video and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. Some moments don't rush you. They wait. This was one of them. Mark finally reached for the envelope. His fingers brushed the edge, then pulled back. Like touching it would make everything real. Lena watched him closely. She had seen him nervous before. This was different. Robert stayed quiet, giving space. He moved to the armchair but didn't sit all the way back. As if he might need to leave quickly. Mark took a slow breath. Then another. He picked up the envelope. It was heavier than it looked. Not in weight, but in meaning. Lena felt it even from across the room. "What is it?" she asked gently. Robert answered before Mark could. "A letter. And something else." His eyes softened. "Something your father wanted you to have." Mark's jaw tightened. "He died when I was still a kid," he said. "Why didn't I get this then?" Robert looked down at his hands. "Because he asked me not to," he replied. "Not until you were ready." Mark let out a sharp breath. "Ready for what?" The silence returned. Thicker this time. Lena felt her pulse in her ears. Robert met Mark's eyes. "For the truth," he said. That word landed hard. Truth had a way of changing things. Sometimes forever. Mark opened the envelope slowly. Inside was a folded letter and a smaller sealed packet. Both looked old. Carefully kept. He unfolded the letter first. The paper trembled slightly in his hands. Lena leaned closer but didn't read. This wasn't her moment to take. She watched Mark's face instead. His eyes moved across the page. Once. Then again. Color drained from his face. His breathing changed. "What does it say?" Lena asked softly. Mark didn't answer right away. He swallowed. Then read aloud. "Mark," he began, voice uneven. "If you're reading this, it means I'm gone, and Robert finally believed you were strong enough." Robert closed his eyes. Just for a second. Like a man carrying an old promise. Mark continued. "There are things I never told you. Not because I didn't love you. But because I loved you too much." Lena felt tears sting her eyes. The words were simple. But heavy with emotion. Mark lowered the letter. His hands shook now. "I don't understand," he said. He looked at Robert. "What didn't he tell me?" Robert stood slowly. His movements were careful. Respectful. "Your father wasn't the man you thought he was," Robert said. "Not in the way you were told." Lena's heart skipped. That sentence alone could mean so many things. None of them small. Mark let out a bitter laugh. "He left us," he said. "That's what I know." Robert nodded. "Yes," he said. "He left." Then he paused. But not by choice. The room seemed to tilt. Lena grabbed the edge of the couch without realizing it. "What do you mean?" Mark asked. Robert reached into the envelope again. This time, he pulled out the smaller packet. He placed it gently on the table. "This," he said, "is why I came." Mark stared at it. Didn't touch it. Like it might burn. "Your father was protecting someone," Robert continued. "Someone very close to you." Lena's mind raced. Close to him? Who could that be? Mark's voice dropped. "My mother." Robert shook his head slowly. "No," he said. The answer felt wrong. Incomplete. Dangerous. Mark rubbed his temples. "This doesn't make sense," he said. "Why tell me now?" Robert looked at Lena then. His gaze held apology. "Because the past doesn't stay buried forever," he said. "And because someone else is coming." The word coming echoed in Lena's chest. Her stomach tightened. "Who?" she asked. Robert hesitated. Just long enough to scare her. "Someone who knows everything," he said. "And who believes Mark deserves the full story." Mark finally reached for the packet. His fingers closed around it. Inside, hidden beneath years of silence, was the beginning of a truth that could reshape everything. He looked up at Lena. Fear and resolve mixed in his eyes. "Whatever this is," he said quietly, "it's about to change our lives." The packet stayed unopened. For a long moment, no one moved. Sometimes the hardest part isn't learning the truth. It's deciding you're ready to hear it. Mark was standing right there. Lena shifted closer to him. She didn't speak. She just placed her hand over his. Robert watched them, his expression softening. "You're not alone," he said quietly. "That matters more than you think." Mark nodded once. Then he broke the seal. Inside were documents, carefully folded, and a smaller photo tucked between them. Mark lifted the photo first. His breath caught. It showed his father, younger than Mark remembered, standing beside a woman Lena had never seen. They were close. Not touching, but connected. "Who is she?" Lena asked gently. Robert answered without hesitation. "Her name is Evelyn," he said. "She was your father's sister." Mark's brow furrowed. "I didn't know he had a sister." "You weren't supposed to," Robert said. "That was part of keeping her safe." Lena felt a chill. Families didn't hide members without reason. This wasn't about shame. It was about danger. Mark set the photo down slowly. "She looks familiar," he said. "I don't know why." Robert gave a sad smile. "Because you've seen her," he said. "Just not in the way you think." Mark stiffened. Lena felt his hand tighten around hers. Robert continued. "Evelyn disappeared many years ago," he said. "Officially, she moved away. Started over." He paused. That wasn't the truth. The room felt smaller. The walls closer. Lena leaned forward. "What happened to her?" she asked. Robert exhaled deeply. "She was involved in something she couldn't escape," he said. "Something that followed her." Mark shook his head. "You're being vague," he said. "I need facts." Robert nodded. "I know," he said. "And you deserve them." He pointed to the documents. "Those explain what your father sacrificed," he said. "And why he left." Mark picked up the papers. They were records. Old correspondence. Names crossed out. Locations blurred. "He vanished to protect her," Robert said. "And to protect you." Lena's chest tightened. "So he didn't abandon Mark," she said. "He chose distance." "Yes," Robert replied. "And it cost him everything." Mark's eyes burned. Years of anger had lived inside him. Now they had nowhere to go. "Why didn't he tell me?" Mark asked. "I could have helped." Robert shook his head. "You were a child," he said. "And even now, this kind of truth is heavy." Lena glanced at the door. The locks suddenly felt important. "You said someone else was coming," she said. "Who?" Robert looked at his watch. Then toward the window. "She should be here soon," he said. "She's been watching from a distance." Mark's voice dropped. "Watching us?" "Yes," Robert said. "Making sure you were safe." Lena felt a rush of fear. And something else. Curiosity. A car passed outside. Its headlights brushed across the living room wall. Mark looked up sharply. "Is that her?" Robert stood. Smoothed his coat. "It might be," he said. "She's waited a long time for this." Lena's heart pounded. Whoever this woman was, she wasn't just a messenger. She was part of the story. A knock came at the door. Softer than the first. Almost hesitant. Mark and Lena exchanged a look. This was the moment everything turned. Robert moved toward the door. Paused. "Before she comes in," he said. "You should know something." Mark's eyes locked onto his uncle. "What?" Robert's voice lowered. "Evelyn didn't disappear," he said. "She stayed close." Lena's breath caught. Close meant nearby. Close meant watching. The knock came again. And with it, the truth they weren't sure they were ready to face. The door opened slowly. No rush. No drama. Just quiet truth stepping inside. The woman stood there with calm eyes and steady posture. Her hair was pulled back simply. Time had touched her face gently. Lena noticed it first. The familiarity. That strange sense of recognition she couldn't place. "Mark," the woman said softly. Her voice carried warmth. And restraint. Mark froze. His breath stopped halfway in. He stared at her like he was looking at a memory. "You," he began. Then stopped. Evelyn stepped forward. Just one step. She didn't want to overwhelm him. "I'm sorry," she said. "For the way you had to learn this." Lena glanced at Robert. He nodded once. This was her. Mark's voice shook. "I've seen you before," he said. "At the grocery store." At the park. Evelyn smiled sadly. Yes, she said. I never wanted to scare you. Lena's heart raced. This woman had been near them. Watching. Protecting. Why? Mark asked. Why all of this secrecy? Evelyn looked at Lena then. Her gaze was gentle. Respectful. Because danger doesn't always announce itself, she said. And because your father knew that. Mark clenched his fists. You keep talking about him, he said. But he wasn't here. Evelyn nodded slowly. No, she said. He wasn't. She took a breath. He left so you could stay, she continued. And he never stopped loving you. Lena felt tears gather. The weight of years pressed into that sentence. Evelyn reached into her bag. Pulled out another envelope. Newer. Carefully sealed. This is for you, she said to Mark. He wrote it not long before he passed. Mark stared at it. His hands trembled as he took it. He passed. Mark whispered. Robert spoke gently. Yes, he said. Some time ago. The truth settled like dust. Quiet. Unavoidable. Mark sat down heavily. Lena moved beside him, wrapping an arm around his shoulders. Evelyn didn't push. She waited. Mark opened the letter. Read silently this time. Minutes passed. The room stayed still. When he looked up, his eyes were wet. But clear. He said he was proud of me, Mark said. His voice broke. He said I became the man he hoped I would. Evelyn nodded. That meant everything to him. Lena squeezed Mark's hand. She felt his grief. And his healing. But something still lingered. Unanswered. Why now? Lena asked. Her voice was calm, but firm. Evelyn met her gaze. Because the threat is gone, she said. The people who were looking for me no longer exist. The words sent a chill through Lena. Exist was a heavy word. So you're safe, Mark said. Yes, Evelyn replied. And so are you. Mark exhaled deeply. Years of tension seemed to leave his body all at once. I wish I had known, he said. All those years. Evelyn stepped closer. You knew love, she said. That was enough. Silence followed. Not heavy. Healing. But then Evelyn straightened. Her expression changed. There's one more thing, she said. Mark looked up. What? She hesitated. Just for a moment. Your father didn't just leave you letters, she said. He left you a choice. Lena felt her pulse quicken. A choice meant a future turning point. What kind of choice? Mark asked. Evelyn glanced at Robert. Then back to Mark. One that will decide whether the past stays buried, she said. Or becomes part of your life moving forward. Mark stood slowly. His face serious. Ready. Lena rose with him. Whatever this was, they would face it together. Evelyn reached into her bag again. Pulled out a small key. And placed it in Mark's hand. This opens something your father trusted only you with, she said. The key felt cold. And full of meaning. And Mark knew, without doubt, that what it unlocked would change everything. Some endings don't feel like endings at all. They feel like doors opening. This was one of those moments. Mark stared at the key in his palm. Small. Ordinary. Yet heavier than anything he had ever held. Evelyn spoke softly. It opens a storage unit your father kept, she said. He wanted you to decide what to do with what's inside. Lena felt Mark's breath steady beside her. Whatever waited there wasn't just about the past. It was about closure. They drove together that night. No music. Just quiet understanding filling the car. The storage building sat on the edge of town. Lights dim. Air cool and still. Mark unlocked the unit. The door rolled up slowly, metal humming low. The sound echoed in his chest. Inside were boxes. Neatly labeled. Carefully preserved. Photos. Letters. Old notebooks filled with thoughts never spoken aloud. Lena lifted one gently. These are memories, she whispered. Mark nodded. He didn't want them lost, he said. He wanted them returned. They spent hours there. Reading. Remembering. Letting the truth settle. Mark found a final letter. Sealed. Addressed simply to him. He read it out loud. I stayed away so you could grow without fear, he read. But I was never gone in spirit. Lena felt tears fall freely now. Not from pain. From release. Outside, the night deepened. But inside, something lifted. They closed the unit when they were done. Not to lock things away, but to carry them forward. Back home, Evelyn and Robert waited. Hope in their eyes. Mark held the letters close. I'm ready, he said. To know him. Even now. Evelyn smiled. That's all he ever wanted. Robert placed a hand on Mark's shoulder. Family isn't about what's hidden, he said. It's about what survives. Lena looked around the room. The same walls. The same quiet house. But it felt different now. Full. Complete. Later, when the house finally slept, Mark turned to Lena. Thank you, he said. For standing with me. She kissed his cheek. Always, she replied. Some stories arrive unannounced. Some truths take time. But love has a way of making sense of them all. And as the night settled gently around them, Mark understood something important. The past didn't come to break him. It came to set him free.